Well, hello everybody and welcome back. It is Jeff again coming to you from, let's call it my single player server. It's the Mindcrack server, the Minecraft vanilla server. Essentially it is my single player server, as some people have pointed out in the comments. Because not many people are on it anymore, but that's okay. That's going to change one of these days. But what about that guy at the beginning of the video? I pass that dude every single day on my way to work. He cracks me up. I thought he was a troll at first on some type of random drug. I'm talking about the guy spinning in circles. I will tell you, he's obviously doing some sort of exercise routine that involves dancing and spinning, but I have seen him so many times just like running up the street. He a lot of times runs in the middle of the street, which kind of annoys me. The first time I saw him, he was running backwards up the hill by Union Station here in DC, and in the right lane, even though there's a huge sidewalk, he was running backwards over the bridge, and he kept waving cars around him, and I was like, what is this dude doing? That's why I thought he was like on something at first. I was like, what is this guy doing? And he proceeded to just run backwards down the bridge. I had to pass him. I came up to a stoplight, and he then proceeded to pass me at the stoplight and go through the crosswalk. And the second he hit the crosswalk, he got back over to the crosswalk on the sidewalk side of the road, and he started spinning through the intersection. He was just running and spinning through the intersection and waving at everybody, and I was like, what is up with this dude? And then the next day on my way to work, I saw him again and was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, this is an actual exercise routine. And now I just see this guy and I laugh and smile because he looks like he's having a good old time. He looks like he's having fun. He's made in his own enjoyment or whatever routine he's doing. He's made it. It's like his happy place. And I'm so happy for the guy. Like, at first I thought he was a crazy dude who was on something. And now I'm happy for the guy. So if you ever see somebody running like that, then don't make fun of them. They're just finding their own happy place. Like, that's all they're doing. and it's, I don't know. I just have to share that with you guys because I unfortunately only got to catch a very little bit of him on my way to work this morning. I will try to get some more video of him doing some cool, crazy things later. I might even try to stop him one of these days and ask him if he'd be willing to, like, have an interview and talk about what he's doing because I think it's really entertaining and really amazing. So, back to Minecraft. What am I doing? I decided to take a break from the resource gathering and go to a spot on the map. I was aiming to go for 3,000, negative 10,000, and I came pretty close. So I traversed through the nether to essentially the coordinates 375, negative 1250, and created another portal. It's somewhere that's been unexplored on the map, and the whole goal was to hope that it brought me out to like an ocean or some area close to an ocean so that I can go find the perfect terrain to set up shop for where the build is going to happen. Unfortunately, as you can see, I built another portal and it didn't build such terrain, or it didn't bring me to such terrain. It brought me to a forest that led into, or like plains that led into a forest, led into a swamp, or wherever we've been so far. I really don't care, because the whole goal is to find ocean. And being that this is an unmarked area of the map, it's very difficult to actually know where we're going to come out or where we should go in order to look for ocean. I saw this water and got excited, but it is a swamp. It looks like there could potentially be ocean that way, potentially. Unfortunately, I can't 100% tell. Either way, going off of the video at the beginning of this video, not directly having to do with running, but just having to do with driving. And I got a story for you guys that I'll tell while I'm just running around and looking for what I need to find. So, yesterday, Julie and I were driving we went to Costco, and we were on our way back from Costco. And it was about 6 o'clock, so busy time in, DC, rush hour, things like that. So there's lots and lots of cars around. And we're on a road that was a 3-lane road going through an intersection. That's a major intersection. So lots of lanes of traffic on all sides. There's like 3 lanes on each side of the road. So 6 lanes total. Like if you're like each axis, I guess you would call it. So going north and south, there was 6 lanes total. 3 going one way, 3 going the other, and going east west, there was 3 lanes going one way, 3 lanes going the other way. Very, like I said, major intersection, major road that we were traveling down. Now, you've heard me talk about Julia's driving before. I can't necessarily say I'm always the biggest fan of her driving, but this story's different because she did absolutely nothing wrong, yet somebody decided to have a fit of road rage and, let's say, discuss her driving with her. I thought it was kind of crazy. So it was one of those situations where we were in the right lane. And in the right lane, it went through the intersection. And as you know, sometimes there's certain and the island in the middle of this major intersection, the island for the traffic that we were crossing actually jutted slightly into the lane. So I don't know if you've ever seen that before, where you'll have some intersections or some curbs or something that kind of, they don't really go into the lane, but they get real close to the edge of the lane just for like a split second. So we were going through this intersection, and right in the middle of the intersection, it was the island. So it was in between the 2 sets of traffic. The island jutted out just to the edge of the lane that we were driving in. Julia has a smaller car. It's not a large vehicle like mine is. And all she did was slowly, very carefully, get to the left side of the lane that we were driving in. She never exited the lane, stayed in the lane, just hugged more of the left line, the left side of the lane, so that we would not, hit the curb, but completely maintaining control in our lane. Well, there was a car in the middle lane who my assumption is when they saw her, she didn't jerk the car over. It wasn't like a last second, whoa. It was a very small, gradual glide, going left a little bit, and then right when we passed the curve, getting back right and getting into the center of the lane. The car in the middle lane swerved to the left as she started to kind of get close to the left side of the lane. And my assumption is that he just saw a car drifting to the left and assumed that somebody was merging into his lane and not paying attention, and he was worried about getting hit. I've done that before when I was driving. I saw a car inching close to me, and I, knee-jerk reaction, swerve hard to the left, and, either realize that they weren't trying to merge into my lane, or maybe they were trying to merge into my lane, and I just avoided an accident. Okay. Yeah, you get a little frustrated. You get breathe heavy for a second, maybe beep your horn. No big deal. Moment passes. Things are done. What else is there to tell you about that? It's something that it's something that happens when people drive. That's part of defensive driving and being aware of your surroundings is, try to make sure that you don't, get yourself killed because somebody else is an idiot. It happens all the time. Well, the guy swerves and beeps his horn. No big deal. Nothing happens. There's no accident, nothing like that. So she's just Julie's kind of what is that guy's problem? I completely maintain control of my own lane. And I'm I know, I'm the car too. I see it. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of your driving on a regular basis, but you did absolutely nothing wrong in this particular case. So we just start driving on the street a little bit farther. And we get to, let me make sure this is Silk Touch. It is. We get to the next intersection. And as we're pulling up toward the next intersection, which has a green light, by the way, it's not even a red light at this point. We get toward the next intersection. I'm going to take this down, actually, because I don't want to waste all of my obsidian just leaving portals around. So we'll do this while I tell the story. We get to the next intersection. As we're coming up to it, all we hear is this guy. All of a sudden, we look back, and he's rear-ending. He's tailgating and beeping his horn furiously at us. And we're like, what the hell is this dude's problem? Okay, whatever. Let out his anger. He's whatever's going on. So we all go through the next intersection, and then we're coming up to the next red light. So the next red light, we are now at some point in the midst of this, we have merged into the middle lane. Before he was like behind us, tailgating us, and and he wasn't in that lane. It's not like we cut him off when we did that or anything like that. He actually, when he swerved, he stayed in the very left lane, so he was no longer even in that lane anymore. That was for question. He came in back behind us to get on our ass to start beeping his horn. So we get to the next intersection, which has a red light. And there's a line of cars at this intersection. So we, in the middle lane, we're behind this line of cars. And in the right lane, he swerves and gets into the right lane so he can get up next to us, which has no cars in it in front of us. And he stops next to us, angrily just beeping, laying on his horn, beeping his horn. And I looked over, and I was kind of surprised at this. It was an older gentleman. He was probably in his 70s. He was an old guy. He wasn't like a young guy. He wasn't like, middle-aged. He was an old guy. And he had his passenger, I'm assuming like a significant other, but I couldn't say that. It was another female that looked about the same age. So, my assumption is that it was his significant other, but, who knows? Who knows? It could have been his daughter, because maybe she was younger and looks a lot. I have no idea. I don't know. That's trying to replace that. And I was kind of shocked at the fact that it was an older guy. I assumed it was some young, kid thinking he's all, better than that. Because that's usually what, ooh, I almost went down there. That's usually what I have dealt with in the past when I deal with road rage. And he stops. So we're about 15 or 20 cars back from the light. His lane has nobody in it because after this intersection, his lane is going to actually end. So not many cars are in it, except for those who are turning right. So there wasn't that many cars that were turning right at the time. And he's beeping and laying on his horn and yelling, "Open your window!" And he's like making the signal to open the window. And I'm kind of an asshole. So I just looked at Julia for a second. She's like, What is this guy's problem? What do we do? And I was like, I don't know, let's talk to him. So, of course, I rolled down the window, and I looked over, and I just go, "Can I help you, sir?" And he's like, "How dare you, goddammit, piece of shit!" And he starts yelling. He's yelling all this, profanity at us. He's like, "You're trying to kill somebody?" And I said, "What do you mean? Are we trying to kill somebody? Are you upset about something, sir?" And he's like, "You tried to run me off the road." And Julia, of course, is getting defensive at this point, and so she starts yelling out the window. She's like, "There's 3 lanes. Like, I never left my lane. Like, you had no business to be upset. I stayed in my lane the entire time." He starts making these signals, and I mean, I swear to God, in his mind, we must have run him off the lane and then murdered his daughter or something like that. Like, that was the way that this guy was yelling and screaming and cussing. And he pulls out his phone, and I tried to pull out my phone at this time because I really wanted to videotape it just so that this guy maybe could see his own reaction and realize he overreacted a little bit. He pulls out his phone and starts threatening to call the police. And I was like, "Sir, you'd like to call the police?" And I was trying to be like, because sometimes you can really throw people off if all you do is in a situation where they're just angry. If you act just extremely upbeat and cheerful and smile and yes, sir, no, sir, of course, it really can throw people off. I don't think it jostled him too much at the time, but I'm hoping he drove away and kind of was like, "What? Why was that guy not why was he being all pleasant and polite?" And I was like, "You'd like to call the police?" I was like, "What for, sir? Something wrong?" And I was being kind of an asshole because this guy was an asshole. And he starts making these motions about the way, trying to depict with his hands how we almost destroyed his car and the injuries that would have occurred and all this crazy stuff. And I was like, "If you'd like to call the police, sir," I was like, "you can feel free to call the police. Nobody is going to stop you. But we're going to be heading on our own way home now." I said, "You can feel free to follow us back there if you'd really like the police to get involved in this." And I was just saying this to him, which he was just continuously yelling about the fact that we almost ran him off the road, which it makes me laugh because, like I said, I'm sure in his mind, I really do think that he thought we were swerving into his lane. I can completely understand why he thought that. A car is drifting toward him. He doesn't know why. He's not driving in the right lane to realize this curb is sticking out a little bit in his lane. So he will have absolutely no real idea that we have a plan in mind. We're not going to leave our lane. His gut reaction is, oh my God, car is making motions toward me. My reaction is telling me that this could potentially end poorly. This car could be continuing to go into my lane. I better get out of this lane. He just had, way too, quick of a, knee-jerk reaction. But whatever. It's been a long time since I've dealt with, like, a guy that angry and road ragey before. I'm sure I've told these stories before, but I've got a couple of some road rage stories from my past that I think it'd be fun to share with you guys. And I'm sure I've road raged before, but these aren't about me road raging. It's about people road raging with me. And one of them is, oh God, where do I start? The very first one. So this is a good one because it said, well, okay, the first one is this guy. Okay, so I was driving with a girl I was dating at the time. We had gone out. We had gotten some drinks somewhere. Oh, there's a fortress. Interesting. We had gone out and gotten some drinks somewhere. I didn't drink or didn't drink much, or it had been many hours since we were out or something. Whatever reason, I was driving home and it was not a problem at all. I was not drunk. I would not have blown over the legal limit. Nothing like that. It was, I was driving home. On the way home, I think it might have been her birthday, actually, because so I was the DD because she was pretty drunk. So I'm pretty sure that's why it was. I was taking her out for her birthday, and we were on the way home, and we're getting close to home, and she says, "Jeff, I really gotta pee. Like, we need to get there like soon because I really gotta go." And I was like, "Okay." So I started speeding up a little bit, and I will admit I was probably going about 5 or so miles an hour above the speed limit. It wasn't crazy by any means. I was going, but a little faster than the speed limit. And as we're on the last road, the last straight road that's on the way to my apartment at the time, and I'm gonna put this here just so I don't fall off this edge. And we come up to this car that's driving, like, I swear to, it was a 55-mile-an-hour road, so I was probably doing about 60, and it was driving probably about 30 miles an hour for whatever reason. I don't know. Like, it was just a normal old car, nothing special about it. Like, it wasn't like it was all beat up and didn't look like it ran or anything. Normal old car, so it's driving about 30 some miles an hour down the road. So I get in the left lane. It's a passing zone. So I get in the left lane and start to pass it. And of course, it speeds up and cranks it up to about probably 70. Because as I started to pass it, it then went shooting and overtook me again and stayed in front of me. And I was like, okay, whatever. I honestly, at this point, we're almost home. I really don't care because, oh my God, is this really ocean? Huh. This might be it. Oh, I got the coordinates on the screen for the video. Nice. And I start to go, or so I get back in behind this vehicle because I'm like, okay, if this guy wants to be, an asshole like that, whatever, I'll get behind him. We're almost back to home now anyway. He's going faster. That's really what I wanted in the first place. And we get up to the intersection, literally the intersection that is right next to my house. And we pull up to the intersection, and all of a sudden, and I'm not expecting this at all, we're at a stoplight, or a stop sign. No, it's a stoplight now because they had upgraded it to a stoplight. He all of a sudden jumps out of his car and comes running back toward my car, yelling about me tailgating him, even though I was only tailgating him because I tried to pass him when he was going extremely slowly, and he sped up so that I had no choice but to pull back in behind him. And that's what he considered tailgating was. He was now behind me, or I was now behind him because he wouldn't let me pass him, and that was me tailgating him apparently. So obviously we stopped. I didn't hit him or anything like that, so I couldn't have been tailgating him too close or anything like that. So either way, he starts yelling at me, runs toward my car, and he had a passenger that got out as well, and they both come running toward the car. My girlfriend at the time was getting a little bit scared because she's just, all she knows is she's drunk, she has to pee, and there's these people yelling at me in the car. And I was just looking at them like, I was like, are you serious? I said, you were driving 30 miles, and I was trying to keep my calm, and I was like, I was driving 30 miles an hour, or you were driving 30 miles an hour in a 55 zone, and I tried to pass you, and you wouldn't let me pass you. So of course he's just still going off and yelling and, screaming and whatever. And all of a sudden, his car starts to roll backwards toward mine because he drove a manual and forgot to put it in gear or put the emergency brake on. So his car starts rolling backwards. He realizes it. So I looked at him because I saw his car rolling. I was like, sir, your car is rolling toward me. I said it just like that. And he looked back, realized his car was rolling toward him. He backed up. He literally took like 4 steps backwards. And, I didn't bring one of those maps with me. Shit. I was going to open up the map and see if this was all ocean. And I completely forgot the map. Son of a bitch. Now I got to go back and find the map. He comes backwards toward me or he backs up toward his car and he starts holding his car with his body, but he's not just standing behind it and holding it in place. He's like bumping it with his butt so it would roll up a couple feet and then like start rolling back toward him while continuing to proceed to just scream at me. So he's just like bump. It goes up a couple of feet, and he's like, I can't believe you were tailgating me. And the car would come back at him, and he would push it again with his butt. And I was just like, I started laughing. I couldn't help it. I started laughing. And all I did was put my car in, because I drove a manual at the time, too. So I know how to drive a manual. I knew what he did. I knew what he did wrong. Ooh, it's a mushroom biome. And I just put my car in reverse and drove around him and went on my merry way, because I thought that was like what I was supposed to do. Like that was one that just made me laugh. This one happened when I was like 24, 25. So I had dealt with assholes for a long time in my life and knew how people were and can handle things a lot differently than I did when I was like 16. So the other incident I had, I forgot I can't break these things. Shit, whatever. When I was 16, I was driving so I was younger and much more stupid and much more like I'm the top of the world. Nothing can bring me down. I'm better than everybody. Blah blah blah. You know that typical type of mentality that people have like that. So I was driving to a buddy of mine's house. Excuse me. I lived on a dirt road at the time. He lived on a dirt road at the time. I mean, I grew up in an area where there's lots of dirt roads, so there was like being on a dirt road was nothing new or different to anybody. We just that's what it was. It was dirt roads. You dealt with dirty cars. Like, I never got my car washed. A lot of people were, I have a lot of friends who are like, gotta get my car washed. I don't want it to be dirty. And I'm like, I don't care if my car is dirty. I live on a dirt road. That's like kind of like adding some character to the car or something like that. Not really. I don't know. I just never cleaned my car. I was young. I didn't want to waste money on crap like that. So I was driving to my friend's house and I get on this dirt road and it just recently thunderstormed and rained. And the road was a potholy, muddy mess. I admit this. Yes, it was. Potholy, muddy mess. Now, that being said, I start driving on the road, and I get right when I turn on right in front of me before we get to the dirt road, a gentleman turns, and he turned right in front of me. No, I don't mean like cutting me off. Like he was the car in front of me, so he just turned left in front of me, and I turned left and followed him down the road. And proceeds to drive literally like 5 miles an hour. And I am not exaggerating when I say 5 miles an hour down the street. He had a white Yukon that obviously he had just gotten washed. Like it was pristine. And now he's driving down this nasty dirt road. And he proceeded to drive at 5 miles an hour in order to not get it dirty. I'm assuming to not get it dirty. So I, being a kid, was going to pass him. I have no intentions of purposely trying to like splash mud on him. That was not what I was trying to do. I just wanted to pass him because shoot, this is not going to be far enough away from anything, is it? Because I just wanted to get to where I was going faster. Now, I started to pass him. I pulled to the left to start to pass him, and he proceeded to get in the middle of the road so that I could no longer do such things. So I slowed down, driving 5 miles an hour behind him, waited for him, and I was like, maybe he's just avoiding some potholes because the whole, these dirt roads, the holes, there are potholes in the road. You gotta sometimes like move to the middle and this and that. Maybe he's not being an asshole. Maybe that's what's going on. Just in case it's not, let me try this again. Here we go. Oh my God. This is it, folks. This is the place. There's a couple things at the corners, but other than that, I like it. We're going to go down and get us a little base. I might not even be able to go down and get me this little base that I'm talking about. It's a little bit... Oh, I'm going to have to get an air pocket. Woo! Good thing for that air pocket thing. Here we go. This should work. So he gets back in the right side of the lane, so I proceed to start to pull to the left and go around him again. To which, again, he gets in the middle of the lane and cuts me off. And then proceeds to get all the way to the left side of this lane. All the way to the left. Like, literally, he's driving as if the right side of the right lane does not exist, or the right part of the road doesn't exist. He's driving all the way on the left side of the road. Like, so far down to the left side of the road, I thought he was going to go in the left ditch, and I was kind of like, what the hell's going on? So I said, fuck this guy. I was going to pass him on the right. So I turned my wheel to the right, cranked it, tried to start going. He swerved. Now he speeds up to, like, you know, a speed that he can get in front of me. He swerved in front of me and slammed on his brakes and jumps out of his car. And I slammed on my brakes as well, and I stopped a good, like, 2 feet back from him still. He gets out of his car. He comes running up to my window. And this is just more like a early 40s-year-old guy. And he's like, "You motherfucker, I can't believe you tailgate me like that, drive like a maniac. I just had my car washed. I'm going to fucking kill you." That's exactly what he says to me. "I'm going to fucking kill you." And I proceeded to just look at him, and I was kind of more in shock. I was 16. I'd never dealt with anything like this before. And I was like, "I'm just trying to pass you and get to where I'm going. It's not my fault that you had you just had your car washed and, you're driving down this dirt road." And of course, he just starts yelling again. He walks back to his car. He gets in his car. He drives about 2 feet forward, turns left, and pulls into his driveway. And I was like, "You motherfucker, you literally just stopped in the middle of the street to yell at me in front of your own house because you're that arrogant and think that your car is worth that much more, that you can hold other people up and do what they're doing and drive 5 miles an hour down the road." So either way, the story doesn't end here. It doesn't end here. It does end. So I go home later, and I say something to my dad about what happened. And my dad's like, he said, "What to you? He said he was going to kill you?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." I was like, he was mad, and he was like, "Jump in the car." My dad's a cop, by the way. So we get in the car. We drive down to the street, and he says, "Which house is it?" And I pointed to the house, and I said, "It's that one. It's that car right there. I can still see it from the road." I was like, that's the Yukon that, was in the way. And he goes, "Okay." He took me back to the house, and he goes, "I'll be back later." He went to the police station because he wasn't working that day. He got in a uniform. He picked up his police car, and he went over to the guy's house in his police car. And this is the funniest part of the story to me. He apparently comes up to him and says, my dad's telling me the story later because my dad thought it was kind of, funny and comical when all was said and done. He asked who drives the Yukon, because there was a couple of people like at the house, and the guy's like, "Oh, it's my vehicle." And he goes, "Did you have an altercation on the road the other day?" Because this is a couple days later. And the guy goes, "No, officer, I have no idea what you're talking about. No altercation on the road." And he goes, "Really, sir? Do you think I'd actually be here at your house if there was no altercation on the road to speak of?" And he goes, Okay. I guess I did kind of, talk to some kid about his driving." And he goes, "Again, sir, do you think I'd be here if you talked to somebody about their driving?" And he goes, Okay, maybe I lost my temper and yelled at some kid about his driving." And he's like, "Yeah, yes, I did." And my dad said at this point, he pulled off his hat and he pulled off his sunglasses, because his police hat and his sunglasses. And he goes, the next words out of this guy's mouth were pure gold, because he just looked at my dad and goes, "Holy shit, you're his dad, aren't you?" And my dad said he just started cracking up at that point. And my dad and I, whoa, So we do not really look alike. I mean, we do now that we're older, but back when I was 16, nobody thought I don't look like my dad at all. We don't really have the same facial characteristics and things like that. We do now, or it's much more noticeable now. I guess they were noticeable enough back then that this guy realized it, which is what made my dad crack up. And I guess the guy started getting really apologetic and was like, "Oh, let me go over and apologize to him." My dad's like, "No, don't worry about it. I'll pass along the message. I just wanted to, understand what happened and explain to you, that threatening children's lives is not something that is, acceptable, whether he's my son or not. You shouldn't have road rage issues like that." And the guy even explained to him, he's like, "I just got my car washed and I didn't want it to get dirty, and he was obviously trying to pass me, and I didn't want him to pass me because I was going to make my car dirty, and I was driving really..." He completely backed up my story, which is good. The guy was honest about it with the police and everything, and no big deal after that. But I'll never forget that story that my dad actually went over to somebody's house to try to find out this truth about what happened with this road rage situation, and the guy instantly recognized the fact that, oh my God, this is this kid's dad. I am fucked right now. So that story always resonates with me. I think it's funny. But, oh, crap. Either way, we've set out and done what we did, and I talked a lot longer than I planned on talking because I love telling stories, and good time. Hopefully you guys enjoy listening to stories, but obviously, as you can see, I have found, with good old map number 42 here, is the beginning of a wonderful thing, because this is the place that we are going to build the base. Now, unfortunately, I have to get from here. I'll probably build another ender portal out. Which way is south? Is it this way? No. This way. No, this way. I will probably build another ender portal right over here. I should have built my platform right over here. Right up here, I should build a platform and put my ender portal and things like that on it and set up a little base, because that'll make this work great. I can just come on in here and build the deck of cards. Like I said, probably go take care of those upper left and upper right corners, and I don't know if I should just clear those areas out or what, or if that's just the way the parchment on the map works. I'm not 100% sure, but that's something I'm going to take care of. I think we got our spot, guys. I think we're good to go. I will see you guys in the next episode.